Alright guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be doing Vietnam decolonization. This takes place from around the 1880s, which is when France first declares Vietnam a colony, to about 1975 with the Viet Cong invasion of Saigon. So we have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to get right into it.
Philosopher, military strategist, and revolutionary. He is the symbol of his people's passionate desire for independence from foreign rule.
Vietnam has had a rough time with its decolonization. To discuss the process, we must first discuss the man who orchestrated much of it, Ho Chi Minh. Minh spent the 20s to the 40s in communist parties in France, the Soviet Union, and China before returning back to Vietnam just in time for Japanese colonization during World War II. He organized a force called the Viet Cong to fight a guerrilla campaign against the Axis powers of Vichy, France, and Japan, who were the colonizers. The day after victory in Japan, when America brought Japan to surrender, Minh declared Vietnam independent from all colonizing forces and started negotiations with France. Those talks failed, and France bombed the city of Haiphong, starting the First Indochina War, when France fought the Viet Cong in a guerrilla campaign. In 1954, after a disastrous defeat, France withdrew, and a peace treaty was signed dividing Vietnam along the 17th parallel and promising elections to decide the future regime of United Vietnam, either a Ho Chi Minh-backed communist North or a Western allied dictatorial South. America backed the southern dictator against the northern communist government, and eventually sent troops in 1965. The Viet Cong fought another guerrilla campaign against American and South Vietnamese forces, which prompted brutal repression tactics by Americans like napalm and targeting civilians. These tactics were led by peasants living in the rural countryside, whereas American forces were often stationed on the shore or in urban areas trying to defend them. America's withdrawal in 1975 allowed for the Viet Cong to conquer Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, and Vietnam was reunited under military force under the North Vietnamese Communist regime. Vietnam's history as a colony helped explain their acceptance of communism and their hatred of Western powers. Vietnam was originally an independent country, safeguarded by China because of their cultural roots, and hosted harboring ports for Portuguese and French missionaries on their way to other Asian countries. With China's power fading in the Industrial Revolution, those missionaries successfully lobbied for the French government to take over the country militarily and politically, which they did gradually during the 1880s. French, seeing an opportunity to profit, began installing public works such as irrigation canals and plantations, which brought large surpluses of rice and rubber. However, Vietnamese peasants didn't see any of these profits as they were all hoarded and exported by the land-owning classes of the wealthy Vietnamese and French colonizers. Furthermore, Vietnamese people experienced little of the effects of the Industrial Revolution, like increased living standards, and they were taxed heavily to reduce what little profit they did make from working on wealthy landowners' fields. Many people still lived out in small villages in the countryside. The towns were left for French-speaking Vietnamese people and Frenchies alike. They would use their spread-out living spaces to great use during the Vietnam War as hiding places during their guerrilla campaigns and bases, prompting American confusion and targeting of regular Vietnamese civilians. Modern Vietnam is a second world country, with strong relationships with its former communist allies and even America and France. Acceptance into international organizations like the Trans-Pacific Partnership and agreements with America to find MIA soldiers have fostered over cracks between these countries and Vietnam's relationship with the world. Currently, Vietnam's biggest industries are the mining of crude oil and tourism. Although there is still a large divide between rural and urban people, the wealth gap between rich and poor has been reduced. French colonization has changed the Vietnamese language from a character-based writing system to a romantic language type writing system. Also, French architecture is prevalent throughout the country, and some people in Vietnam still speak French today, although the choice of language is still a debated issue among Vietnamese people and nationalists.